A very exciting morning to you and welcome to Sports Central, brought to you live and exclusive on Spectrum Television, all the way from the beautiful hills of Ipiakere and Goton State, Kwaibu. My name is Fonobongitina. Quite excited to be back on your screens this particular morning. Lots of exciting stories in the world of sport. We're talking about football, talking about basketball, talking about tennis, every sport you can think of. Even the man Israel Adesanya currently in camp for his fight with Joe Pyfer sometime in March. A lot of postulations already being made. Will Israel Adesanya once again lose out? If you are an MMA fan like me, you'd know how important this is, not just to Israel as a fighter, but to Nigerians in the world of mixed martial arts. We'd also go to the world of athletics, where the AFN are currently battling the registration fee issue, which has been a case study ever since the whole issue about, researching into, athletes being overage at competitions. We'd also go to basketball, where we had lots of games this morning, about 7 games in the NBA this particular morning, and we had a particular game where the opponents could even get up to half of the points garnered by the other opponent. We also talk about football, where last night Mohamed Salah made his first start for Liverpool since November. And it ended in a good note for Liverpool. We also had other matches as well, but we'll look at them on the flip side of the show. Remember, you can follow us on all social media handles. Go to Facebook, check us out, Spectrum Television, Spectrum TV Live. Go to X, following on this Twitter. Go to TikTok as well. You can also follow me at Facebook at Fonobongitina, and we'll do well to connect on an even closer level. Right now, we'll take just a quick breather. When we're back, Sport Wrap-Up in full. Thank you for sticking around. Now we're back. Let's go straight to Sport Wrap-Up. We'll start with stories from the home scene. They say charity begins at home. So the Athletics Federation of Nigeria has sought to calm growing concerns within the athletics community over information that athletes would be required to pay 15,000 naira to register on the newly adopted Roster Athletics platform. Concerns emerged after athletes and stakeholders encountered a payment option while registering on the digital platform, with the Federation recently introduced to manage athlete data and competition entries nationwide. The development triggered criticism from several quarters, including Nigerian 100 meters record holder Olusoji Fasoba, who warned publicly that such a fee risked excluding grassroots athletes and undermining development. The AFN president, Tonobo Kokoa, has come out to say the Federation had not approved any registration fee and stressed that athletes would not be made to pay 15,000 naira. He explained that the amount being circulated originated from Roster Athletics and remained subject to negotiations and board approval. The AFN announced the partnership with Roster Athletics on January 13th, describing it as a major step towards tackling age cheating and improving data integrity in Nigerian athletics. The platform is set to be deployed across all AFN championships and extended to state associations, clubs, and road race organizers, introducing online registration, automated seeding, real-time result integration, and tamper-proof athletes records. The Federation also announced a compulsory lifetime athlete licensing system with annual renewals aimed at aligning Nigerian athletics with international standards while restoring confidence, transparency, and accountability across the sport. Now to tennis, where the man, the myth, the legend, Novak Djokovic knows that if he has to make history at the Australian Open, he would need to conserve his energy. The seventh great is bidding for a 25th Grand Slam title to take him one clear of Margaret Court's all-time singles record. The 38-year-old has spoken about needing to protect his body for the latter stages of the majors, having been hampered by injury in 3 of his 4 Slam semi-finals last year. He dropped only 7 games in a 6-3, 6-2, 6-2 victory over Italian qualifier Francesco Mastrelli in the second round on a warm Melbourne afternoon. Djokovic beat Spain's Pedro Martinez by the same scoreline on Monday, marking the first time he has not dropped a set in the first 2 rounds at Melbourne Park since 2023. Djokovic has never lost a Grand Slam match to a qualifier or a lucky loser, and his 37 wins and no loss at all record against them is the best of any man in the Open era. While his serve was not quite as potent as in the first round, Djokovic still won 86% of points behind his first serve, as well as serving 4 of the 5 break points he faced. Victory over Botic van der Zalsjob in the third round on Saturday would be his 400th Grand Slam singles win. No other player has achieved that fact, and Djokovic cannot meet world number 1 Carlos Alcaraz before the final, but he could face 2-time defending champion and second-seeded Jannik Sinner in the semis. Now onto the WTA scene, where Jessica Pegula admitted it was quite difficult, as well as Lorenzo Musetti adding that it was not easy to deal with, but that did not prevent either player from crushing their doubles partners' ambitions at the Australian Open. World number 6, Pegula overwhelmed McCartney Kessler 6-love, 6-2 in just 58 minutes, while 5th-seeded Musetti swept past fellow Italian Lorenzo Sonego 6-3, 6-3, 6-4. Pegula and American compatriots Kessler played doubles together on Wednesday at Melbourne Park, losing to 5th seed Gabriela Dabrowski and Luzia Stefani. Musetti and Sonego, however, won the doubles title at the Hong Kong Open earlier in January. When the two faced off at opposite sides of the net, it was Pegula who dominated. She fired in 18 winners, met just 7 on forced errors, and won 73% of her first serve points. She will face Russia's Oksana Selekmeteva next, with another good friend in defending champion Madison Keys potentially awaiting in the 4th round. Now to basketball, where the New York Knicks ended their 4-game losing streak in emphatic fashion with a record-breaking 120-66 win over local rivals the Brooklyn Nets. The 54-point margin of victory is the biggest since the Knicks were founded in 1946 and eclipses 48-point winning margins achieved in 1968, 1972, and 1994. The victory at Madison Square Garden followed a poor run that culminated in a 114-97 defeat by Dallas on Monday. But the Knicks snapped out of that form against the Nets, roaring into a 38-20 lead in the first quarter and extending that to 59 points at one stage in the match. Jalen Brownson, who scored 20 points, said the win was a huge boost as the Knicks approached the midpoint of the season in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference, behind the Detroit Pistons and the Boston Celtics. Now to football, where Mohamed Salah's Liverpool return was less impactful than he would have hoped, as he was overshadowed by Dominic Szoboszlai in the 3-0 victory in Marseille that made the Champions League top 8 finish all the more likely. While all eyes were on the Egyptian international, it was his close friend and the team's most consistent performer who surprised the host with a clever free kick under the wall in first half added time. The set piece probably favored Salah's left foot, but Szoboszlai took charge with a low shot, which crept under the jump of Leonardo Balletti and inside the post. Jeremy Frimpong's second half cross deflected in off goalkeeper Geronimo Rulli just as pressure was starting to build, before Cody Gakpo's added time strike secured only Liverpool's second win by 3 goals this season. Salah was making his first start since November 26th, when Liverpool were humiliated 4-1 at home to PSV Eindhoven, their final defeat of 9 in 12 matches prior to the current 12-game unbeaten stretch. And with that story from the Holy Grail of European football, that's all we have for you on Sport Wrap-Up this morning. But not to worry, the guys will join the conversation and get ready to come your way. Don't go anywhere.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to another exciting time. We talk about the best of stories in the world of sports. It is Sports Central, and my name is Blyden Lukem. Exciting times ahead. I'm moving away from the African games that have taken place. We've seen all the traction and all the noise and some of the fines that's taking place, moving left, right, and center, especially the one that has to do with Algeria. Officiating has been a cause in recent times for Afghan. Many argue, looking at 2019, that the difficulties for referees, rather officiating at 2019 in Ivory Coast was so good. Not 2019, 2021 rather. Right, 2023, yeah, 2023, and Ivory Coast was quite good. I'm going far back. Well, since VAR came in, and we've also argued about recent times what's happening at the Laf Arkan in Morocco. Well, officiating was a talk, and many from a European standpoint have said African referees should be trained. It will be a conversation in today's show, part of also the conversation about the Champions League that took place yesterday, and even for that, the excitement that are taking place, and the game in the Europa League that will be taking place today. When you talk about the Champions League, two teams have qualified automatically. Arsenal and Bayern Munich, the dominating proceedings, top on the log. About 15 teams also have secured their position to the next round of the competition. I'm talking about two teams that have qualified into the top 8. A last game remaining, and we're looking for remaining 9 teams that could join and qualify for the next round of the competition. It gets further interesting, and 4 teams so far cannot make it to the next, talking about the likes of Eintracht Frankfurt and Slavia Praga and on and on and on. It would be a thick conversation also looking at the world of tennis and basketball. Well, I'm not going to do the show alone. I have big guys in the house. Well, men in their own rights. Maybe, I wanted to say legends, maybe legends in their own right. Whatever, David, good morning. Fonitina, good morning. Whatever, good morning.
Excellent morning to Rita, returning after the UEFA Champions League nights. Just like you've mentioned, one more game to go. And then, of course, the league phase is over. We're looking forward to the playoff round. I think yesterday, for me, it was usual names that got the wins, particularly no surprising results.
No surprising result from Mutuba David Fonitina. Good morning. Good to see you.
Excited to be back. Yesterday, I really followed the game with Liverpool and the opponent yesterday, and I was paying close attention to Mohamed Salah. You know, the coach of the Egyptian national team came out to say anytime Mohamed Salah comes home, when he returns to England, he's a different player. And I think I saw glimpses of that yesterday. He was quite refurbished and looking sharp. Let's see what happens over the weekend.
Maybe he should go home more often. We never can tell what gets to happen. The breeze and the weather in Egypt, it can't make the difference for him, especially when it's so cold in England, in the UK. Well, guys, we'll get to start the conversation here now, quickly talking about the world of tennis and see what the allies are according to reports. But first, we'll start from Athletics Federation of Nigeria. We hear that the allay fee is over athletes 15,000 naira registration fee. Unfortunately, I'll start with you. You're nodding towards it already. What's really happening in this one? 15,000 naira registration fee and many fees in it.
It's just about, remember recently we talked about the AIU telling Nigeria to make sure they have a strict guideline for athletes, so we know who's not under 18, who's not under 20. So the AFN signed a contract with a particular, but I'm not going to mention the name because they're private, and you know, they signed a particular partnership with them, and according to those people, they want every athlete in Nigeria to pay 15,000 naira, and that's going to be yearly, just like, you know, lawyers pay a particular amount of money to, you know, renew their license every year. Same thing with, I think, other professions as well. So I think that's the same thing they wanted to do for the athletes. But a lot of people have come out to decry, because we're talking about an athlete in Ibiakuren who's just trying to be an up-and-comer, trying to see how he can make ends meet. And you're asking him to register 15,000 naira yearly. It's going to be quite difficult. We're going to stifle grassroots development. And also G. Fasoba, who is the 100 meters holders for Nigeria, the man has come out to say, come on, that cannot work. And the AFN president, after the backlash back and forth, has come out to say, no, it's not certain. It's not fixed at 15,000 naira. That's the money that's been stipulated. That's the money that's been thrown out there, but it's still out there for negotiations and all of that. So let's see what happens at the end of the day.
Well, let's see what happens at the end of the day. So David, quickly, let's you talk on this now. 15,000 naira, that's big money circulating now. But it seems like a good thing having players being registered. As new players are coming, new athletes are coming, you register them. One way to really track that age, because if you are imputed in the system at a certain age, it's difficult for you to change it, especially when you're going in, especially when international body are monitoring it.
Well, I think the only problem I have with the registration fee will be about you know, young stars at the grassroots level. Will they be able to afford 15,000 now to register? That's another major concern because at the grassroots level,
maybe the AFN
these
gets to
athletes,
play a factor. Maybe not 15,000 there.
It's
There's
these
already
FAs.
an issue about 15,000. Let's not center on the 15,000 there.
Yeah.
Let's look at the possibilities of some form of registration. It could be cheaper,
No,
but some form of registration.
no doubt about that. I think that big step of trying to register athletes brings some level of transparency to the real age. How they started particularly, and trying to track their progress as well. No doubt about that. I think where many are concerned will be about the fees. Maybe it could also be lowered down, and that to a large extent will also benefit players at the local level. I think the AFN at the moment are trying everything humanly possible to ensure they actually get transparency as regards athletes, particularly that's representing Nigeria, be it at the continental stage or even at the international stage. What we saw last year was an utter embarrassment. Well, at some point, we even had to, be given ultimatum to, investigate and know exactly what happened before that particular major tournament. So, I think for me, basically, I do not have problems with the AFN at the moment. Trying to, put up measures, trying to ensure that all of these athletes are tracked in terms of their age, in terms of their progress and all of that. And I think that's what a proper FA could actually do. And I think the Athletics Federation of a country are actually looking forward to that. I just want to see what they would actually make of all of this.
And what they'll have to make of all of this, Twitter was speaking about it, and the FA in Nigeria. Sad fact is Nigeria had to wait for international bodies to query them and do some investigation, and they did the investigation themselves and then realized they have to do something about it. Quite sad for a country like Nigeria, most populous black nation in the world, are waiting for things to go bad before they begin to think about doing stuff in the right direction. After that game, the tournaments at Abeokuta, where Nigerians won a lot. It was an underage tournament, under 18, but trust me, many 22-year-old, 30-year-old participated in that tournament, and Nigeria had to be query. Not good enough. But quickly, before we get to join our FIFA referee to give us insight into what we're talking about, for now, let's go to Formula One and talk about champions, McLaren, and we hear they're putting an unprecedented preparation amount of work towards 2026. One thing in Formula One is to win, but consistency can be a thing. And McLaren, how ready are they?
Well, I think it's just about trying to put out there that they are doing the bit they can, because you cannot really predict what would happen this year. They're the champions from last year, and they're saying we're not resting on our oars. We're still trying to put in work, because this year we're going to have lots of changes, different type of engines, a different type of circuits and all of that, a lot of that. I think we don't really have time to go into all of that. Maybe another day would x-ray what's going to be happening in 2026, because we are definitely going to see a lot of changes. In fact, I think we have two new circuits in 2026, added to the Formula One race season. So it's very exciting to see. For McLaren, they're not the only ones. Mercedes recently, the other, we talked about it on Sports Central. What's his name? John Owen is leaving as the designer for Team Mercedes. So a lot of changes. We're going to be seeing maybe new things, new innovations, and new additions to Formula One.
And the innovations to Formula One, interesting times ahead. Let's see what 2026 will bring for some of these big franchises, McLaren being part of it, Red Bulls, and now we're also talking about changes that could come with Mercedes. Up next, since when it has to talk about sport, it has to talk about regulations. And in sports, especially football, the biggest regulators must be the people on the field of play. There are referees in that direction. So next, I will be talking to a FIFA referee, the first female FIFA referee in Akwa Ibom, Mfon Akpan. She gives perspective towards the challenges of referees in Nigeria, and I'll also talk about a bit of the laws of the game, especially the laws that fans really don't have understanding of. So shall we? Let's get to it. FIFA Mfon Akpan, good morning. So good to have you be part of Spectrum TV and Sports Central today. Good morning.
Good morning. My pleasure.
Oh, so good to have you now. Well, let's start a conversation this way, because many Africans are looking at from Europe. We've seen challenges of officiating, VAR also in that direction. We've looked at the AFCON challenges of officiating and VAR, in the Nigerian Premier League challenges of officiating and VAR. And most times the buck falls on the referee. Fans get angry. We've seen vandalism and all of that take place. Why? Because a single whistle from the referee changed the dynamics of the game, which many fans didn't agree to. So let's start the conversation. What are the biggest challenges for officiating, especially in Nigeria? You are FIFA badge referee in Akwa Ibom and Nigeria, handling all of this. What are the biggest challenges?
Okay, thank you very much. It's nice to be here with you today. Actually, I would like to say that football referees faces a lot of challenges, both on the field and off the field of play. And most of those major challenges are one of it may be pressure and abuse. No, we face a lot of abuse and pressure from the coaches, a constant criticism from players, fans, and even the media. So these are the things we face: verbal abuse, threats, and all that, physical attack. Some you see some referees maybe after taking a decision, even when they were wrong or maybe they were right, they still look at it as a wrong decision and they attack them physically. So these are the things we face. Little appreciation. They don't appreciate the referee even when you're doing the right thing. The little one that you make a mistake, they use it against you. Understand? So these are the things that makes us um, have it a bit difficult to do games. And then making split of decisions, it's actually very difficult thing to make split of decision, a split of seconds decision in the field of play. Like you're judging 22 players in the field of play. It's not an easy thing. So referees should be appreciated. Within a short time, something happened, you have to take a decision. And that decision must be in line with the laws of the game, what IFAP has stated. So it's actually a difficult thing. Interpreting complex laws of the game under pressure. You see in yourself maybe like in a Nigerian league situation, if you don't have security, maybe security is not tight and fans have access to the referee and they threaten you, say maybe if you don't do this, you will not go back alive and all those things. And you're appreciating the game under pressure. It's a thing of concern to the referees. Then you have a player and coaches behavior, players attempting to deceive the referee, maybe like simulating. Understand? If you're not a very competent referee that you're vested with the loss of the game, you'll be deceived by the players, and you make a wrong decision. And the fans, the community football committee may not accept that. Coaches protesting decisions, even when you're right, they do that. So these are the challenges we face. Physical demand too. As a referee, you have to stay fit, physically fit. If you're not training every time, every day to keep yourself fit, you can't meet up with the demand of the game. The risks of injury sometimes, like in Nigerian league, most of the pitches are not having maybe natural pitch. They may have artificial pitch, or those ones that have natural, maybe the facilities are not in good formation, and you may risk yourself of injury and all that. Another thing I would like to look at is inconsistency. At times, if up changes the laws of the game, like currently we have 2025, 2026 laws of the game that has been changed. If a referee, you're not confident with this, you're not consistent, maybe, or you're having a training program that you can become used to the laws or vested with the laws, you make decisions that may affect the game.
Okay.
So,
All right. Thank you, Fonapat.
okay.
So good to have you. Good perspective there when it has to do with the challenges of the game. And now let me pick from what you've said. Two cases are one that interests me the most. First is you talked about IFAB changing the laws, which means that the referee has to be top of these laws. But here's the concern because the argument is most often than none, referees are human. So somehow you have to while we're having this conversation, is also having to look at the side of the referees. Recent AFCON, everyone blamed the referees. Won't go into that, but referees are human. Now you said the laws are changing. It means referees have to keep tap to the laws. But the fans are not aware of this because the fans are not reading, they're not having access to the changes that comes with the law. So it also has a way of impacting the game with the referee. Even though the decision might be the right decision, the referee follows the new rule, but the fans are not aware of it. How do we handle this? What gets to change moving forward?
Actually, football is actually the greatest sport on earth, and it's a unifying game that unifies the whole universe. It is played on every continent and at different level. And without the laws of the game, you cannot have a fair play. Football must have laws which keep the game fair. Understand? And coaches and players must have to respect these laws. And referees, just like you have said, that referees are humans. Footballs are relatively simple compared to most other games. The laws of the football are relatively simple. And humans, like we are, we make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. So we should also respect the referee decision at all times. Nobody can be 100% perfect. You make decisions, decisions that are right, decisions that are wrong, maybe because of your angle of view, your positioning in the field of play, and maybe the time of takeoff. Some issues of maybe like counter attack, like the referee cannot meet up. The assistant referee is there maybe to assist, and if that assistant referee is not maybe very vested with the laws, they cannot assist the referee at that point, and the referee from a far distance cannot take a good decision. So they should understand that we are humans. We make mistakes just like every other person. And currently we have a lot of law changes that varies from law 3, law 8, law 11, law 12, and all that. You have to read the laws. Fans are not vested with these laws. They don't go reading. All they do is maybe one person is saying a thing, another person will join in the same compensation, and then before you know it's vandalism, all those jokes everywhere. So
Concern now, big advice to the fans. They have to understand that there are many changes that comes with the laws of the game, and they have to follow
yeah.
suit. All right, Mfon
So
Akpan.
I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I thought maybe you wanted to look at the laws of the game,
All right, I will just go.
possibly
We'll
fee.
just go into that. Maybe you put this side by side with the loss of the game. The
Okay.
guys also will get to ask you some questions. But earlier part of the conversation, you mentioned that that's how a situation is on a field of play, and you realize the countenance of the fans. There's not enough security. Talk to me about a situation where you go that, for example, in recent times, not to be offensive towards the fans of Kano, you go to Kano and you know how difficult it is in Kano during the Nigerian Premier Football League, for example, and you look at the terrain, you realize even if you were to make a right call, it can be consequential. What would the referee do at that point? Because, let's say there's a penalty or a foul against the home side, and you know that it could be consequential, it could be life-threatening to you. That's why we're asking for more security for referees and the fans' awareness. But on the other hand, is there a situation like that a referee uses his discretion to give a wrong call?
What you just what you just mentioned is one of those challenges we face: security and safety issues. Are those challenges we face mostly, like you mentioned, Kanu, Katsina, a lot of all these northern parts, even in the east. So it's a very big thing of concern. Poor security at venues. It's a big challenge for referees. For you to be fair, 100% fair. Number one thing you should know as a referee, your number one security to yourself. Understand? When you see yourself in hostile environments, especially a derby game, like maybe you're having a Yimba is playing a Abia Warriors, a derby game, it's always deadly. As a referee, you have to be top class. You have to use your head, make sure you do the right thing. No matter the traits, we have to do the right thing. We have to do the right thing. But the only thing is that we are always at the receiving end.
Yeah, quite
Even
sad.
when you're taking the right calls, at the end of it, they'll still beat you, they'll still assault you, and all that. We have to do the right thing. We don't have any option. We have to do the right thing. That is it.
Well, Mrs. Mfonokban, or Miss, is it Miss or Mrs.?
Me.
All right. This is Mfonitina. I have a question now. You raised an issue about referees not really having, let's say, when they do well, they don't really get praised for it, but when they are not doing well, they get criticized for it. I'll take your mind back to 2023 after the AFCON that was finished in Cote d'Ivoire. Gary Neville, who is an English pundit, came out to say that Africa is doing something unprecedented. And there we were talking about maybe, a bigger profile for our African referees. We're talking about this year we're going to be having the World Cup, and we're having maybe we could have an African referee at this competition. And now, we don't want to talk about the last AFCON, but then we saw what happened there. Do you think that could set Africa back in terms of officiating at these big competitions? We all want to see Africa do better, and that involves our officials, the referees, and all of that. Do you think we might just have a setback in terms of the improvements we had in 2023?
I actually said I'm not going to talk about African game, and the referee were at top notch. They did their best. So I don't have much details about that. I don't know whatever it may come. I don't have much details. I don't want to talk about.
Let's move ahead as we close. Some other time I love to host you where we got to talk about the loss of the games and some of the loss. We're almost out of time. We got to go to football stories, details of it. That's second place of the Champions League. But lastly, let's conclude with this. Looking at the welfare of referees in recent times, we've seen how welfare could play a factor. Talk to us about how improved welfare of referees have been in the Nigerian Premier Football League.
We are well taken care of. Kudos to the NFF committee, match committee, the president Ibrahim Kuzu. They have been keeping up to date. So we are well taken care of in terms of match indemnity, prompt payment, and training of referees. We had season of pre-season training every year before the season commences. We have practical aspect of it. So we are intact. We are good. We are good to go. We commend the committee.
All right. Thank you, FIFA referee Mfon Akpan, Kwabum's first FIFA female referee in that direction. You're doing a yeoman's job. I really hope that more young referees follow after your footstep and what you're achieving from a Nigerian point of view and Africa. And really hope that we get to see more Nigerian referees officiating in top competition, even the World Cup coming soon.
Thank you, Zo. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We really appreciate it. Guys, we've heard from FIFA referee Mfon Akpan and what she's spoken about, despite not necessarily really wanting to talk about the AFCON. But on one hand, well, she has a choice. She's not talking about it, and we understand it. Lots of pressure for the referees, and the whole idea of the conversation was all about looking at, with David, officiating. Most often than none, we put lots of pressure on these referees, but it's not an easy task. Just like players make mistakes. You see players, they make mistakes. The other conversation is, do we praise the referees enough when they do well?
I think we do. Basically, we do.
You think so?
Yeah, I think we do.
We bash them more than we praise them.
Just like, of course, we talk about the AFCON. We did that at the AFCON last one.
Exactly.
We did that. Almost every single match we commended the referees.
Not just in Africa as well.
Not just in Africa, particularly. I think the only problem we have, and most times it looks like we criticize as referees, especially in the countries, maybe because of the fact that you see decisions being taken by referees, and then you ask yourself, was this really a mistake by the referee?
Oh, sorry, David, let's cut referees some slacks today anyway.
I wish we actually had an NFF executive. I would have thrown that question to him. Yeah. So I couldn't just ask
because the other one, I just asked her, she's talking about being taken care of. I can understand she's saying it. Yes, there have been improvement, but over the years, referees have not really been taken care of a lot. So all of that could play a factor. And come on, just like the question I asked her, I knew she avoided it, said you have to be top notch. We know that's how a referee would be at the stadium and looked at, especially if you go to Kano and you look at the fans and you realize this is live and there.
Not just Kano. We've had it in different,
everywhere. Even in Derby, just like she talked about Derby,
just like
anyone
this season with
Ibomengels
too. Videos of
absolutely. Are being beaten that way.
Was that a mistake? That's the question.
Well, whatsoever it is, it could be a mistake from the referee, but the fans jump on it and beat the referee that way. One for no matter what, you can be so sure. But the point is, when it gets to a point that they're careful about their life, come on, they're bound to make certain decisions. Well, we'll have to go on a quick break, and when we're back, the conversation continues. And this time, it would be about football stories in entirety, what happened, especially yesterday, the Champions League and others. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. It's your Sports Central. And my name is Blyden Ukem with Twitter N15 and still with me for company going nowhere. Lastly, we're talking about FIFA referee Mfon Akpan. Well, namesake to Mfon anyway, but she's a referee and she gave us different insights. But quickly, let's move to the AFCON. We begin from there as CAF drops all AFCON referees for this weekend's game. We're taking lots of pressure for them. We've seen what's happened, but we'll also move forward and talk about sanctions for Algeria heading to appeal Committee CAS. Well, to start with you, when you look at Algerian national team, especially that game against Nigeria, there are many sanctions to the tune of $100,000 for them. It's been broken down to different sectors, and why it's up to 100,000. I wouldn't go into details of it. You think it's deserving, right step from CAF, because right now the conversation, if you look at this, then Big Hammer is coming for Senegal.
Well, I think at the moment, CAF are also, doing due diligence, investigating all of these, chaotic scenes at the AFN, and that's why they're coming up with this suspension. For the Algerian national team, I think it's really due, because I look at what happened in that particular match, the auto sessions, some of these players had, the national team coach as well, and all of that, and that what many would actually ask question, was it a case of, a tournament just evenly scheduled for, North African teams, because that's what I feel basically, especially after what we saw with the host nation, and then Algeria followed suit as well, and many would ask questions about that. But I think CAF coming out, sanctioned them for some of these irregularities, particularly in terms of attitude, is really, of course, due to me. And I to a large extent, I also feel that CAF also understand, just like we're talking about the rules and the laws of the game, to understand what's actually happening and what happened in that particular match. I wouldn't be surprised if Senegal, are also, being sanctioned, because to a large extent, the national team coach was actually wrong to, tell his players to go back to, the restroom, and then to come out again, courtesy of the captain of the national team. All of those regulations, we actually
Everyone
know.
is also looking at the sanction that come from Morocco,
Yeah,
the
so
host nation, because they've done it time and time again. It happened against Nigeria, happened against Senegal at the final.
So everyone that was, found wanting in terms of regulations in that particular African, they should be sanctioned. No problem about that.
I mean, sanctions will be flying left, right, and center.
The referees should also be sanctioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, the referees that were found wanting.
Which of the referees was found wanting? That's the question.
The Moroccan games,
the Ghanaian
we actually had
But how can he prove? How can he prove
He
it?
was on an
Investigations
interview yesterday.
are
I
good.
watched that interview,
And he said
he's just exonerating himself from everything.
He wouldn't say anything
That's what's
because he
getting me
wasn't
annoyed.
officiating.
He said he
Absolutely.
did
He wouldn't
everything
say
according
anything.
to the rules of the game, and it's very annoying. Come on,
what
you
do
have to take the blame sometimes.
What do you expect the referee to?
He wouldn't say anything,
That
basically.
he intentionally
On national
he
TV.
intentionally did that. Probably
On the
maybe
Nigerian national TV.
maybe that was a mistake anyway. What is basically what it is. Still regarding the AFCON, we hear Nigeria's defender Simi Ajayi, who plays his club football for Hull City, had picked up a hamstring injury, and he'll be out for 2 months for Hull City. Quite sad for him. Part of the conversation around players and AFCON taking place mid-season, so players have to go participate in AFCON, and the player now returning to Hull City won't be featuring for him. Quite sad, but Simi Ajayi was absolutely fantastic for Nigeria. As here from a home scene, it has to be a Nigeria Women's Football League. We hear that the Bomb Angel had sealed a win against Ekiti Queens in Oyo. A 2-1 victory for Ibom Angels in this one. I'm going to look at it and talk about the growth that's coming with that side after recent fines that added to Ibom Angels, and that issue with the referee Happiness Oboye gave the host an early lead, and Sean Fakunle equalized for Ekiti. But we're talking about Wami Georgeline, a late goal sealing 3 points for the Kwabon base aside. And quickly to the Champions League, we'll start with Chelsea, and we'll be talking about Leon Rosen, the coach of Chelsea, winning his first Champions League game against Pafos for Chelsea. Well, unfortunately, many Chelsea fans have looked at this coach, said yes, he wants to praise with intensity since joining the side, but many people are still having that first win for him in the Champions League. Many would say not against the biggest of side, but remember they played against Pafos before and ended in draw.
Well, I would say for Liam Rosinho, it was it's good to get your first win. I think it would have been a different story if he lost that game or actually drew it. So fans can say all they like, but it's 3 points for Chelsea and 3 points in the back for Liam Rosinho. The game was quite cagey, but then you would understand Cole Palmer was not in that game. A lot of players were missing out of that
played
game.
lots of games without Cole Palmer.
No, but well, Liam Rosinho has talked about trying to bring out the creative part of Cole Palmer more. The other coach, Enzo Maresca, played a lot without him, but this is a new coach. He's also talked about bringing Bisasi back into the squad. He said the man is lacking fitness, but definitely he's going to reintegrate him slowly. He's already started training with the first team, so maybe we're just going to see a different look Chelsea. And I watched that game. I was more impressed than what I used to see with Enzo Maresca as well.
I'm more impressed from what he used to see with Enzo Maresca as well. But we're talking about Harry Kane showing class and dominance, beating Union Senegalese despite Bayern Munich having a red card in this one. A 2 massive 0 to give them that victory to David. Well, Bayern Munich, you talk about Arsenal and Bayern Munich, 2 top sides. They've automatically qualified for the top 8 position in the Champions League so far. 1 game left. Bayern Munich have been absolutely fantastic this season.
Absolutely. I think Vincent Kompany has actually built a side that he wouldn't really be thinking much ahead of a particular match day this particular season. We want to talk about the records they've broken in terms of match wins, in terms of the number of points, even the German Bundesliga. And I think what it's been doing so far is excellent. Shorten critics, particularly, because I could recall some years back when he was appointed, the Bundesliga, coach of the year, particularly after that season, there were concerns before he was even appointed whether or not he will have the quality to, oversee this particular team to do well. But we've seen, Bayern Munich, a force to reckon with. You look at the quality of addition of players he's also added to the team. Those players are doing quite well in their respective departments. So I think what they're doing at the moment is worth talking about, and I think Vincent Kompany will stay with the Bayern side for a long time.
Vincent Kompany staying with the Bayern side for a long time. Arsenal, Bayern Munich seem to be the top 2 teams in Europe at the moment. Similarly, Liverpool had to go away from home to France to beat Olympique Marseille 3 massive 0. Dominic Szoboszlai hitting the number for them. But Mo Salah returned to the side, as we talked about earlier. Mo Salah with possibilities of good form, securing a round of 16 for the side. And Fermin Lopez also had to spark Barcelona rally as Lamine Yamal had to save his ban in that direction. Well, fun. Just lastly, because many games took place, I want to talk about one. Barcelona beating Slavia Praga 4-2, Juventus 2, Benfica 0, Atlanta losing at home to Athletic Club, and we're talking about Newcastle 3, PSV Eindhoven 0. Where is Karabakh? Eintracht Frankfurt. The likes of Eintracht Frankfurt, they can go to the next level. Losing to Karabakh quite consequential. Slavia Prague also can go even to the next level. But funny thing, Galatasaray played a 1-0 draw against Athletic Madrid, and is that conversation Victor Osimhen featuring in that match? Many said he looked tired in the game. I don't know if he followed it through.
I don't think he did. I watched the game. I think he was full of energy, bustling. I think he was even better than the game I saw against Morocco. Had more touches, had more shots. So
European football not so close compared to African football.
I think he looked.
They gave you space to play.
Maybe, but I think he looked good. It didn't look tired to me. But Atletico Madrid, we know their team will like to defend. But yesterday they came out blazing against Galatasaray. They were more of an attack in front. The Galatasaray had to be on the back foot. For Victor Osimhen, I'm really worried about him playing in Turkey, because I think he deserves to play for a bigger team. Because when you're playing for Galatasaray, they are now, currently fighting. They are one of the teams who got 10 points, right? Yeah, 10 points at the moment. So they have to fight to make from the 9th position to 24, so they can go for the 2-legged playoff. That's going to be a big case. What if they get knocked out in the next phase? Victor Osimhen deserves to be playing in the finals of the Champions League. I want to see him in a bigger team.
Well, he doesn't want to get knocked out in the next phase. He has to play football and score goals and win with Galatasaray. They spend lots of money in that club side in Turkey. Well, quickly, today's game would feature Fenerbahce against Aston Villa, and Braga take on Nottingham Forest. Another game that are taking place today in the Europa League would be one to really talk about. Victoria Plazania against Porto, final take on Stormgrass, PAOK Athens against Real Betis, and Young Boys take on Olympique Lyonnais, SK Brand against Midtjylland, and Freiburg take on Maccabi Tel Aviv, and on and on and on. Too many games to talk about, even Roma against Stuttgart Football Club. Well, partly, before we get to do our parting shots, let's talk about a world of transfer. David, I'll start with you now. John Felipe Mateta has told Crystal Palace he wants to leave. Well, it seemed like a bit concerned for Crystal Palace now. The manager of Saudi has really come out in recent times after Berechese left for Arsenal, and Matt Gay also going to Manchester City. And John Mateta says, I want to leave.
Well, you can't lose your quality legs and still expect to, compete at top level. And I think that's what Crystal Palace are suffering at the moment. Look at their last 5 games in the Premier League. They have really suffered in terms of inconsistency. And it happened immediately after Maguire left for Manchester City. Oliver Glasser said, look, after the season, I'm no longer staying with Crystal Palace. And I think Jean-Philippe Mateta, with 18 months left in his contract, he really wants that step forward. Maybe in the build up to the World Cup. Juventus are looking for the man at the moment. So if they really want to get him 40 million euros asking price by Crystal Palace. That they should pay and get the man.
Now pay and get the man and hope Crystal Palace gets to spend lots of money. We're about to close finishing at 20 seconds. Vinicius Junior has reiterated desire to stay at Real Madrid. It seems like since Alonso left, he's sort of picked up his form. The last game against Monaco and backed the man of the match away.
Definitely, I think Vinicius Junior is one player who you want him to perform well for Real Madrid to perform well. The coach of the side has talked about it, Alvaro Arbeloa. I think all the press conferences have always been about Vinicius Junior from Arbeloa. I just hope the man doesn't throw him under the bus sooner.
Many hopes they throw him under the bus as sooner. Here we don't do that, but we have to bounce. Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you guys for being a part of the show today. Well, exciting times. And big thank you to the FIFA referee Mfanakman who joined the conversation. Today, hopefully, we might have a talk about the loss of a game next. Thank you. My name is Blyden Kim. Tomorrow is another day.